can see, Sean, there is something unusual in my birds for this year. Well, I've never bred in my life, and that's a satinet. I've got an hen was rearing a couple of youngsters, like hatched out Friday. I've got an hen here which is hatched 3 out, and she's doing them lovely. She hatched 4 out actually, and I've put one under her feeder.
Very pleased to be back in field again.
Always fantastic. Yeah, it's nice how you finding the time to travel down from
Fantastic to be here.
Lincolnshire, is it?
In Yorkshire.
Oh, were you sure?
Yeah, yeah.
I apologise.
Near the bridge.
Yeah, over the bridge.
Yeah. It's a lovely day.
A beautiful day, beautiful day. Yeah, the wife's gone bowling, so it's good weather for her for bowling. And it's good weather for the birds, not too hot. So, yeah, good.
How was it?
Every
What you
season.
got to tell me?
Well, the season, let's talk about the season. It's, obviously I've got my Forest and my Norwich, and they all got fit, and I paired the birds up early on in the season, and probably what I thought I'd pulled the slice a bit early.
Yeah, you said, yeah.
And they just messed about for a couple of weeks. So I was expecting a lot of clear egg. To the birds, I didn't see any birds mating at all. But when I'd laid and I'd set the egg, there was quite too fertile, so which surprised me. So the first round went off fairly well. So that 30 odd on Norwich on the first round. And the second round are well on the way now, so I'm virtually used all my ringers up. So if I'm saying that, it's been a successful season. It won't be long before I shut shop and stop breeding, because you can breed. It's not quantity you're looking for, although you need a nucleus of birds to pick your show bird and pick your breeding stock. But it's quality you're breeding for, not loads of birds just to pass on. So that once you order your rings and you're up to that amount, then it's time to say it's a day.
And you've got 50 years under your belt as well.
50 years. And
I've got another quick question on that. You've done 50 years of it.
yeah.
Do you ever find out something else and you go,
You're
is it get harder and harder because you're an expert, aren't you, with it?
in this hobby, you'll never
Stop
stop
learning.
learning.
Right, yeah.
Right? You know, you pick things up in your own bird room. But if you're going meeting people in the same hobby and you're travelling around the world, you certainly pick up different things what people do different to you. And you think that's a damn good idea. So you're learning all the while. You can't expect to be a professional overnight.
No.
But after 50 years, I'm still picking things up. I mean, I've tried something different this year. I went and judged in Italy last year at the Fenna, and I had a young novice breeder there stewarding under me. And I had 200 and something birds to judge over there. And a class come up at the end, which was a satinet class, which you don't get in the UK. It's the odd one you see, and they're definitely not the shows what puts us on the schedule as a satinet, probably a couple of shows. But these satinets come up, and they did look nice birds. And they were too polished. Well, a lot of satinets that people start on are crossbred, if you understand. You get the satinets from your coloured birds, so they're not really to their true standard. But these birds were, and I've talking to this young Italian, and he's been working on for over 10 years. So we've built his stock up in a nice white Norwich, and I was quite impressed with it. But the short story I'm trying to say is that at the end of the show, this lad wanted a bird off me and a couple of other Italian ones. I managed to get some over there. But he liked what I was saying, and he sent a bird back to me, which was a satinet carrier, which I put into my one of my green hens, the yellow green hen, and the first round I've bred a satinet. So I'm learning on that.
That's
Completely different ball game to what I'm used to. So yeah, something else to learn out, and another challenge. But the birds in the bird world, doing you're breeding your birds, you get used to them, but you need challenges all the while.
I mean, the last time we came to see you, you always seem to set yourself a different challenge each year.
Yeah, yes. I mean, my green line. I don't breed a lot of greens, but I like to keep one or two greens. It improves the colour of the bird. Right? If you keep breeding clear to clear to clear, it washes the colouring off. They've got to put a bit of variegation in or a bit of green in to pick that colour up. So I did bring a yellow cock bird up from a very good friend of mine this year to put to one of my hens to keep the figure going. But unbeknownst to me, the round had 4 chicks. They're in the nest at the moment, which I'll show you later. Excellent. There's a pink eye turned up.
Really?
Which is a cinnamon.
Right.
Now, I don't keep cinnamon, but this is something that the hobby needs to know. When you're buying birds, you need the full story, the history of the line of that bird you're bringing in. Now, I was told from a very good friend this bird was not a carrier, but it has turned out to be a carrier.
Yes.
Now, if I hadn't showed that one bird that pink eye, and I was all dark eyes, I'd have thought to myself, these are nice greens. The following year, because now I found out that the father was a carrier, his son's a carrier. But I could have went this year without knowing. And next year, so if I count sons, I could have pink eyes coming from the sun. So now I know for definite there's carriers. I can control that. Yeah. But this is where people, if they're buying birds in from sales, going to the national, to Stafford sales, they buy a bird in, they don't know the full history of it, of that line. So you really want to go to a breeder and understand and look at the line and look at the pedigree of the bird.
I was trying to say, it's like a pedigree of it.
Yeah.
Up to there, no?
Yeah.
To this case. You can't sit on
they've been there feeding. She's on her own. She's feeding 3 youngsters on her own with no problem at all.
You found it a stronger chick, or was it dog?
No, they're all if you look at them, they're all the same size. So she's feeding them quite well, and she's on her own. Now that's a pollet hen. Now she's really the foot round with her own chicks, but I'll put some Norwich under her this time. And the Norwich over the other side of the bird room is probably where we've done that bird. Right? And we've got to try to get these Norwich to feed. And they're very difficult to breed, as you know, these Norwich. So you've got to guarantee, I've always said you've got to guarantee your push round. That's why I put them on the feed. I've got me crossbred ones. They're particularly just a rare Norwich. But the fife, if I have a decent round with the push round with a five, that's plenty for me. You have no problem really, the five rearing their own chick. So the second round, if I've got Norwich on the second round, I'll probably put their eggs under five and the 5 eggs under Norwich. Get them Norwich to learn breed. When we go round, you'll see I've got some nests there with a Norwich feeding, no problem. I'm trying to. This is another challenge for me now to get these Norwich to rear their own chicks. And each year I'll get more and more Norwich feeding, even if it is possible, the fives or Mongol type birds. It gives them
Yeah.
An idea how to feed.
Why do you think? Well, you probably know.
Well, the problem with the Norwich is when they fuss that, they're weak in the neck and they're moving about. And the Norwich being a heavy feathered bird, they're on the job to catch the youngsters when they're gaping.
Right.
And that's one reason I recommend, and I do it, is cut all the feathers away from the Norwich boys so they can see properly because of this feather.
Visually they help the feet.
Visually, yeah. And another tip is that when the Norwich hatch the youngsters and you see they find it difficult to catch the gate, then I will probably once or twice in a day pop them birds up. After about 3 days, those birds are stronger. And the end of the Norwich or the top bird will feed them okay, and that's how we do it. But I've got one yellowing over there. She hatched 4 5 the other day, and I ain't even touched those youngsters to feed them
From the start.
from the start. She's a young hen, but I look back through my records. Her mother fed last year, so I'm breeding that instinct into that line.
Yeah, in that line and the bird itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, right? Looking at fife and just feeding the chips.
Yeah, well, it's, I said to you earlier down when we were downstairs having a drink that at my age now, I've got a lot of birds there, and something's got to give for next year because it is taking a lot of my time. And as you get older, you don't want to get out of bed in the morning. And
what are you thinking of doing? Should cutting back a little bit?
well, I think
We don't want to go away.
Yeah, I would hate to say I'm going to let the forest go, because I do like the forest, but something's got to give a little bit for next year. So I'm going to have to cut down on pairs, cut down on the 5 to probably 5 6 pair, because now I am being included in the 5 judging panel list. To judge, you've got to be keeping them and showing. Same with the Norwich section. You can only judge on the panel list if you're breeding and showing. So if I intend to keep judging through 5 shows, been experienced of judging there, then I've got to keep 1 or 2. So I may keep 5 6 pairs, the best, right, and just concentrate on them. Where this year, I mean, a couple of friends of mine, they've up the road, well-known 5 breeders, have been friends with me for 50 years now. They've kept birds as long as I am, and every year I say to them I'm going to cut down, they just laugh at me. Because they said, well, we've heard this 20 years ago, you know. So,
you think this time we're going to?
Well, it's taken a lot of my hours off through the day. I've got a big garden. We like bowling now. Me and the wife have took up bowling, lawn bowling. We enjoy that. It's a different circle of people, but I think we need it at their age to get in contact with people. It's hard to spend all day sitting up here looking at it.
For me, it's coming in once a year. It's stunning. I mean, it's just stunning.
Well, the only way to success is you've got to put the hours in.
Yeah.
You've got to be with them. You've got to study your birds. You've got to see what they're doing. See, you can have it's easy enough. Well, say you see. It's still hard to get a nest of full fertile eggs, but sitting on eggs and hatching them is the easiest thing. It's really not. And if there's a chick what's going down, you can top that bird up, or we can swap birds around. It's not a hobby where you can go in the morning for an hour, feed up, go out and forget about them till night time. Any livestock you need the time, and any success you need to put the time into it.
Are you still using that same feed mix as last time? What you did before?
What
did you talk about it last time? Top food, so yeah.
Well, I'm still buying my buying the egg food. food from EGM. I do like that. It's a German grain. I mix in the germination seed, which is just started to sprout. I put peas, the small peas.
Yeah.
And
That's it.
that's it.
Broccoli.
And a bit of broccoli. Not too much broccoli, because if you put a lot of broccoli in, it takes the moisture out of the broccoli over the day time and makes the egg fruit too much. You don't want it too much.
Right.
So when you put it in your hand,
Yeah.
squeeze it, it stays in the ball. It wants to be nice and fluffy.
Yeah. I remember you bet something, you bet a white last time. You hadn't bet one in your landfill.
Well, no, I lost my white line a few years back, and well, I managed to get a nice copper back from my line from my German friend, Frank from Germany. He sent one over to me, and I've built that line back up now, and I've got up to date now 7 white youngsters. And the white's in that flight there, which you can film later. And there is going to be some nice white. And there's whites in the nest, there's a white in the nest there. There's a white in this nest. So I'm up to 7 at the moment. And there is other birds, what fit in, what come from the white ground tail. Well, it could be a very successful year for Sunny White. And like I say, and I've also bred this year, which is more than I do. I said earlier on about keeping the greens to improve the colour, but I'm bred some very nice variegated birds, very short common birds, and they will help next year. I shall select from those my better ones to go with the tweezers, to improve the colour and also improve the feather as well. You still got to look at the feather, you still got to look at the hard and soft yellow, but to get the right control on the feather. But there is some nice variegated birds there, more than I usually do.
You do make it look easy. You think, when you come into Coos Place, there's all sorts going on. And you go, oh, but you just make it look, you've just done it a long time.
Well, you get into a routine.
Yeah.
You're first thing in the morning, you're like a bloody robot. Because everything, you know where that bit of kit is, that bit of kit, and you're pulling bits in, then you're mixing this up, mixing that up. Then you do rounds, giving them fresh water, cleaning the water pumps. It's that routine, and every day of the week, and every week of the year. You got to do it.
Yeah.
And going on that note, the hobby in the UK is diminishing, it's dwindling, which is it's a sad note to when I first started 50 years ago. 50 years ago it was a working man hobby, and you've got a lot of people who come home from work and enjoy their time with a bird. And then you see, in my 50 years ago, I was in my 20s, late 20s, and you get people who are 20 now, or younger, in their 20s and younger, they don't want to be feeding livestock. They want to be on their mobile phones or PlayStation. The culture now is, unfortunately, dwindling from this off.
How do you get it going to go?
I just don't know. It'll be a sad note when this all finishes. But what I can't get my head round is that we do get invited to do it abroad, which it's nice. You see different people, you see different birds. But a lot of these farm countries are thriving. Thriving with their hobbies. They go into
the numbers high on the show and everything.
You go to Italy, some of them goes there. Gregory Library in Spain, one of the big Spain ones, 28,000 birds.
What, in one show?
In one show.
You don't get that here.
It's incredible. I mean, they're national. We're lucky if we get 100 Norwich. And then I go to that's Italy, and you get all ages. You get businessmen, you get working people, all in the same office, all conversing with one another. I don't know where we've gone wrong. I don't know what we can do about it. I'm sure. Social media, it's plenty of social media about the hobby. You go on Facebook and that. I got invited to judge in Turkey. Same there. It's fine. I don't know the talk today in this country. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is and how we're going to get round it.
You've got your regular breeders that are showing, and then there's nobody else. It's not enough. Don't get behind them.
No. I mean,
That's really, isn't it?
I mean, one area when I first started, the hotbed of nights for Ilkley Bourbon. And every other door, every other herb was kept up birds over there. And you just get the old people who I looked up to, the Wright brothers, Fred Storer, Bill Blower, from Barwell, which was next to Ilkley. Well, there were a book full of creatures, you can talk about and show again. I don't think there is one Norwich breeder in it, not one. So it's a sad night. And I've been a member of Ilkley Day Party for 50 years.
Very sad.
Yeah, it is bad. But people like yourself, they'll find it, giving you your time up to come out and film this hobby and put it on social media, put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube. Can only do the hobby good. I hope. And the youngsters start looking at it. The enjoyment of watching these birds develop from the pairs being mated, the laying eggs, the hatching, rearing, watching these birds rear like you just saw that in there. I can sit here and watch that all day. There is enjoyment. And at the end of the day, when that bird comes out, you weaned it off, it's molt, and it looks a lovely show bird and you show it to the public. It's a real good feeling.
It's been up there from an egg.
Yeah.
And then you have it still and you win.
Yeah.
What's it like?
Hell of a shape, and I'm coming up to 76. I've been to a show and I see birds being judged, I'm sticking well away, I see them, I see more birds up there. I still get that adrenaline going. Is that bird going to win? So you still get that feeling.
You've done some big ones.
I've done any time. Yeah, I've done any time. I've been looking on that side.
I've never thought that. It's straight, yes. You've seen that bird from the egg come out.
Yeah.
It's reared, and then it's at the field and you win.
But then you can sit down and think, well, the planning side of it, your pedigree and pairing those two birds together, I got it right. Well,
are there any huge, like, big no-nos with that? Somebody got the rattles.
Well, the big thing I've got, people know me for my feather quality and people to the birds, a nice tight bird. Because we all know 50 years ago there was horses size and it was only feather and it created major problems. So the big no is you never double book. That's pairing two buck feathers together. And that's what they done in the 50s and 60s to get this bigger bird, this much more round, feathery bird. And that's what I'm talking about, feather. The feather was twice as long and twice as wide, which created a problem of it getting out of the skin. So it weren't hard enough to penetrate the skin, come out into the quill, and develop into a nice feather. What it did do, that it was double buck, which creates a wider feather, it was curling up under the skin.
Well, you get them little,
and that's what they call, that's what feather stitch,
Yeah.
And then it was called the salt version was the lump. So everybody, well, not having them, they got lumps. The lumps are feather fish. And the reason is that because they're too weak to get out and develop on the outside.
Eventually,
So that's the biggest one now in breeding technology. Understanding the feather. Always breed the bud. But then you get the finer side of the feather. You get the coarse, the fine. And you've got to understand that. How to pair them birds up.
I'm guessing it's quite. This is.
Well,
You
you can go the other way and get two fine feathers which are a tight feather, and you finish off with a small bird with no shapes.
Right.
Right, so it'd be like a wild fin because a very short, tight feather. Right. So again, you've got to have the happy medium to get that feather correct, to keep that shape of the bird.
Right.
To wear model.
Right. Use fingers as well.
Well, I've got some crossbred feeders there. Got a little bit of Norwich in them. Got a little bit of lizard, a little bit of new colour.
Really?
But they're vigorous birds, and that's what you want to rear in. And I've talked about the night. Got to get these Norwich feeding, but you've got to guarantee that first round. So that's where they go. And the other thing I have experienced, and it hasn't been so bad this year. But in the past, Norwich, you get them fit, you get them breeding fit, and I lay the eggs, and they'll fit, and they'll probably sit for 4 or 5 days, then get off on one or two the nest again. Since we've got them overfit. And we pump all this bloody old protein stuff, all these vitamins into them, you get them overfit, so you've got to find the happy medium of that. It ain't been quite so bad this year, my end's abstract. But what you do find, it's disheartening to have especially if you're at work, is to take an egg on your own eggs, and after about 4 days you come back from work, if you've been off them all day.
Done.
Eggs are gone.
Just the room, you just want to know.
Yeah. So I say, guarantee that for saying, work your feeders so they come in at the same size as you know it, and spot those eggs over. And to guarantee that first round. Second round, especially if those ends go down quick before your feeders have reared your first round, if you can get unstuck, or you've got no feeders put your second round eggs under.
Yeah.
So you've got to rely on those knowledge to see.
Like you're juggling that.
Right, it can be, but my challenge, as I say, my challenge is get these knowledge to feed, get these knowledge to fit. Most of my eggs fat this year. I had 1 or 2 what wasn't fit. No, it trucks this is the Norwich, but they always fat. Most of them fat. So that's, I'm getting that. And now this second round, I've got Norwich feeding. So that's the other part of the challenge. Right, you get that big, get that. So, it's happy days. When the birds are laying, you take not everybody, but I take the eggs away.
You took them out.
So until they've laid the full through. Probably I might feed for a day or two longer to make sure those guys are sitting.
You put your dummy.
Good. Put dummies on up to 3 eggs.
Right.
Well, they only need 3 eggs under them, but if they lay 4, you keep taking them in. And then put them when they've laid their last egg. You can always tell when they've laid a full touch, because the last egg is darker.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Right.
That last egg is always darker, so you know it's not going to lay another egg.
And it always is?
Yeah. Right, yeah, well, I've got some eggs indoors, I'll show you.
Right.
It's a darkish shade. Okay?
Wow.
So, then, of course, you put the eggs under your birds. But what I was going to say is, while they're in that tray, the next morning when I put the other egg in, what she'd laid, I will turn the eggs like it's free for a sleep. lay. Just don't leave them sitting there. So I'll turn them myself in that tray.
Wow.
But they don't just want to sit there settled.
I've
Just
never got that.
Well, that's
Wow.
what I do.
That's the bird wood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's natural for the birds just to, when they stand up and look at the eggs, they will turn them.
I've seen them. I've never seen them. I've seen them tuck under it.
Yeah, 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 they will turn. Especially, I mean, these Norwich, that end just turned there.
Oh, when you did the.
When she went down,
Right.
she went down and just turned those eggs there.
Wow. The feeds again.
But again, some of the fights in a lethargic part of the ain't quite nice.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, most of my Norwich just I've got a little bit out of sync with the feeders and the Norwich. So the Norwich on the buffer and had to sit on the eggs for it. And luckily, most of them fat. And the night before I did the wax, they went under the feeder. Like I say, that's guaranteed. That's what's around. And I mean, the other thing is, and I spoke to earlier before we went on camera, is the humidity in the bird room. I mean, this bird room is a dry room.
Right.
And at the moment, it's about 50% humidity in there. Outside, it could be a lot higher. But this room seems to be a very dry room, hence all the foliage around. Because I'm watering those and spraying those leaves, so the humidity stays up. But this room has gone down to 25%. Well, that's no good for having.
No.
It wants to be, humidity wants to be between 50 and 60%. For good action.
Yeah.
And I mean, I threw an egg in the bin this morning, which was 2 days of abuse for that. And that was dead in shell.
I was going to say, they get dead in the shell.
Yeah. In the past, I've had my fair share of dead in shell, and that's the reason. Humidity. Some people may say you're giving too much calcium and the scales and stuff, but you're going to have a net in the neck. I've experienced it with a net in the next cage where it's had typhoid and all that's out perfect. So I don't believe you're having too much calcium.
Yeah. Because if you're in a small shed in the summer, it's honest about it.
Well,
no, I'm not in.
Yeah. But and again, I mean, these wooden sheds outside can have, especially winter time, the humidity could be the other way around. And you in the humidifier in the burger to get rid of the dampness.
Yeah.
Which, you know, especially with every set of dirt, with a Norwich, you don't want all this, you know, poison humidity. It's not healthy for one.
No.
And especially if you're showing, it can create problems with the feather. It can create these creases around the neck or splits. That's created by, you know, humidity. There's precautions I'd say, though as printed, you'll just see where I've been, we could probably film where my first round youngsters are all in. You'll notice they're in small flight. And I've got natural perches. And they will fly up to the perch. What you can have with Norwich, they're very susceptible for knocking their back claw out.
Like this.
Yeah. And if I pull that slide so the flight is double doubling, they'll fly from perch to perch, and that's where they'll knock that back claw out. Until their feet develop and get a little bit harder. So they'll stay in these smaller flights, maximum of 15 birds in these flights. Because that's what I have. I have 60 rings. There's 4 flights from the top, 15 inches is 16 youngsters. And they'll be like that until they finish molting. Or virtually finish molting. If I see exceptional birds, then they'll come out to go in single cages. And they start training them. But the feet are armed off by then. And then when I collected my birds, etc. And what bird I'll keep for the winter, that fly will come out. So they'll have plenty of extra feathers then flying from birds to birds. But at this stage, when they're this age, 5, 6 weeks old, if they're flying 5 foot across there onto a bird, they could knock that one out. The other toe problem is can have that's called stiff claw. That's on back. The other one is slip claw, which goes through the front, and that's I think through breathing. Again, touch wood, I don't have that problem, but you can get this. And the way to overcome that, or try to overcome that, is pull that back claw what's gone through the front back and tie it back to the leg.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. For 2 days, week or so. So just try to spread it.
Now when it comes up to show time, do you pick your bird? Do you have any special scratch to get that bird? I mean, I photographed your bird, and I know I always go. The feather on it is absolutely, because I know I've been up close to them.
Well, the main thing is in the breeding. And the feathering. I've spoken about the feathering and getting that right. That's the main thing. But there is a bit of prep, you know. I mean, years ago, they used to hand wash them. I still hand wash.
Really?
But not every show. They done it years ago because the industry was different outside. There was mold, fog.
Yeah.
The air was a lot filthier than what it is today. It's a much. We talk about climate one thing, but the climate is a lot cleaner than what it was 50 years ago. I probably might against these birds once for a big show.
How would you do that, Dave? Never.
Well, it's I mean, for watching, I'll be prepared. You've got to have everything set up before you start it.
Right.
Right, so you've got to have. I'm looking to have a sink in my bird, right? I've got hot and cold water there. And I'll usually fill the sink with the water with the temperature I want it. Then I have 2 of the bowls and take the water from that, so each bowl is the temperature of the water is the same. The smaller basin is where I'll put shampoo in, which I use Johnson's baby shampoo, just a little to get a little bit of fun in. And I'll have a badger hair shaving brush which I wash the bird with, always washing down the grain of the feather.
Wow.
Right, so you're going down. The second one I dunk the birds in, completely in, and wash the trace out. The third one, which is got water left in the sink, is the clean water with just a little drop of vinegar, which kills any coats left on the bird. Obviously, you don't overdo it with the vinegar, so if it gets in the bird's eye, it's only a little drop, just kills that side. And then with a nice warm towelette, I'll take most of that moisture off the bird, and then I'll wrap the bird in paper toweling off the sausage. But I'm lucky I've got a 6-foot rag at the other end of the shed, which I only have on for my benefit, not the bird, if I need it when it's cold, and also if I'm drawing birds. So they go in a show cage and they sit on top of that rag. And I've had up to 20 birds drying out there.
Wow.
But like I say, you've got to be prepared. Everything's got to be there. Your towels have got to be there. Your paper towels got to be there. Your water's got to be there. Your shampoo's got to be there. No good having a bird you've got soaked. So where's the shampoo? Where's my brush? You've got to be there. And I'll probably do 10 birds straight off in 5 minutes. Boom, 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 boom.
Why are you champion?
Then I'll change the water and do another 10.
Why are you champion?
Well, it's only experience and routine I'll get into. But they've got to dry out slowly. The rad's on there, and like that bottom one's what's sitting directly on the rad. So I've done those 6.
They're all powder finished.
Yeah, the next 6, I'll pick the bottom one up and now go on that. So it's gradually working our way up. So they don't dry out too quick. And once, again, you don't do this at night time. You do it first thing in the morning on a nice day.
Is this pre-show? Not before the show before or something like?
No. I'll probably do it 5 days before the show.
Yeah.
I mean, once them birds are going out and you get them back into their cages, their single cage, or in spraying them or anything. The following day, I would put a bath on. So they go in there and bath. And then probably the day before I show them what, give them a very light spray. And that's their light. They need 4 or 5 days to clean themselves to get oils back into your face. Regarding spraying oils,
Yes, right.
for showing, these birds now are in the flight. They're small flight. They're 750 wide by 900 deep by about 800 high. There's enough room there for up to maximum of 15 birds. On the other side of these flights, I've made a little trapdoor which I can then hang a show cage on. With the knot, there's one sits in there which is hanging there for the forest look. So they hop in and out. As the Norwich will, they'll soon go into that show cage. So they the Norwich have trained their bellies. They don't need a lot of training. They'll go in there, they'll get used to that show cage. But then when I've got the picture, what I think is going to be a standard bird, and it's nearly through the night, I will put it into a single cage, and again, I will hang a show cage on there. But every now and then, every time I come up here, there's that spectral bird, I'll make sure it's in that cage, then I'll take it off and put it on a stand, so move it around.
Yeah.
So they get used to how you do it, taking it from here to a show, walking around with it when it does. Even to the point, a week before it's ever going to go, I might stick it into a carrying box.
It's not gonna.
Yeah, shut the lid off. So they're used to it. So that's all part of the preparation of the bird. So they get used to it. They do it. What I have been seeing, especially on Facebook, with lots of photos, these birds, there's been some exceptional looking birds, but they've been so relaxed, they're laying across the perches, which gives the hobbies in the Norwich world the wrong impression of what a bird should be. You should be able to see daylight under that bird from its body. They should be standing up. If you look at the model, they're standing off the birds. But there's so many birds on Facebook where they're laying across the birds. And people are commenting on them as what a marvellous bird that is. But then gives the people that are coming into it, I'll be the wrong impression. That's how I'm going to breed a bird. What's going to have to sit and lay across the bird. They've got to stand up. Not as much as fife or borders, but you've got to see up to the leg, a bit of line. So they're learned. So you can train these birds into show cages, but you can go the other side of it, and they're just too lazy to stand up and show themselves, which is a really bad point. Well, there was 25 rings there, right, for the five, and 25 there. I'm down to my 2 for last 6. Right, but there's 4 in that nest alone.
Yes.
So the 5 rings will soon go up, and they've got another 4 in the nest over there. So there ain't got enough rings there. I've got 10, 15 Norwich rings left out of 60, and I've got Norwich to ring around. Well, we're going to ring some birds. They're due for ringing. You ring the birds when you see them start voiding over the nest. That's because the hen, the mother, is cleaning part of that, cleaning the nest out. And like the British boys, if the hen sees that ring on the leg, sometimes they take them off. don't get that with canary really, but wedge rules is a good sign when you see them voiding over the net. You know they're big enough then to put this ring on without the ring slipping off. You got to be prepared, make sure your rings are with you, make sure your paperwork's ready, and you put the ring numbers down. My ring numbers are there, and they will go on these individual birds. This is from a green pair. This one is going to be a green bird. Now I always put the youngsters over the sink because they're going to void each time you put them out the net. You take a ring off. There you got them from. You pull that back claw back. I always make sure the ring is facing down, so when they're being judged at a show and they need the ring number, the judge or the stewards can read that ring, no problem. You slide it over that back claw and pull that back claw and that bird's wrong. Now that ring at that age, at that size, will not slip off. Have another nest ready to put them youngs in, and then you do it all over again. Not always they avoid, but most times they do, and then you find they avoid over the paperwork you're trying to write on. Again, make sure that ring number, this is ring 167, put it over the front 3 toes. Don't have good eyes for this, and a steady hand. Make sure those front 3 are in alright, pull it, slide it over the back claw, that claw like that. You notice I always put it on the right leg as well. Sometimes I've done it, I'll put it on the left leg on the second round, so you know which is first or second round. And one bird here, in particular in these 4 youngsters, if I show you, it turned out to be a pink eye, cinnamon like. So it's going to be a self-cinnamon. You can see the colour in that feather now. But prior to that, the day it hatched, you know straight away because it got pink eyes. So this ring number is 168. That goes on here. Get those 3 front claws in the correct position. Slide them into, sometimes you have to straighten them up. It can be awkward if they start moving those toes. You slide it over that back claw. There you go. But now what I shall do with this one is make a note, 168 is cinnamon, which will be a hen. It's come from a carrying cock. And I've got the last one. Right, they're going to do it. So that one's alright, it's time to clean out. Yeah, make sure it's the right way up. The judge will still don't want to be looking at the ring number upside down. You just need a bit of patience. Make sure that all these toes are facing downhill. Slide them on. It's gone over, these are pulled on. Now before I pop it back into its proper nest, its original nest, as you can see it's mucky. All the voids are in the bottom of the nest, so I put it in the bin. Just clean that nest out. Clean it up, and it will take what nesting material was in there. So that nest is clean now. But also what I'm doing by taking the nesting material out. I gave it more room for these birds to develop. And because there's 4 in here, I may even change in a couple of days' time into a bigger nest pan, so the birds have got room to develop, rather than push one another out of the nest. Now I've got all that down on my pedigree slip, all the ring numbers. I know exactly where they're coming from. I know that the hen ring number 16, it was a 2024 bird, it was self-green buff, and the cock bird is a 192, 2024 bird, self-green yellow, and I've got the initials of the breeder from there, so I know where that comes from. And I can tell him that his bird was a carrier. So there's the push round fife. Still got push round fife in here. So, as we all know, the fife are prolific, so there's no problem breeding fife. And then in the last fife, we've got a 1410, with a canary. She's had a push round of 5 eggs, but unfortunately it all's clear. So I took the cock away and get her picked again. She's flying around the flight now. I think it won't be long before it gets left again, so I'll introduce the cock bird back to her in the next day or 2. There's 3 there, there's 3 in there. We've got various ones take away, and some are ready to jump the nest. And what I have done, I've took top Norwiches away from their partners over this side of the shed. The hens are over there. I took the nest pans out. I'm in 2 minds whether to put them down again. It would be their 3rd round. I've actually got the amount of youngsters I planned for, because all the rings will be gone by the end of next week. Whether I'll get any more rings, but I mean, most of these hens want to do the nest again. But whether I do, whether I put some of the ones I really like down on the 3rd round, but I don't want to over push these birds, and I want them to be able to monitor out well and show food flying birds. So I don't want to overstretch them. So she's doing them proud. So where, you know, people say that Norwich never feed, you can get, if you persevere and have patience, they will feed.